I was, just looking over at VidMe, and I know that at VidMe, a lot of people, a lot of creators go over there because it's less restraint than what you get at YouTube. And one of those creators is Rowdy C, Chris Moore. And he took his TV trash series over there. Not saying that his TV trash series can't be seen on YouTube anymore. It can be. It can be. His TV trash series can still be seen on YouTube. But a couple of years ago, I would assume a little over a year ago, he did a retrospective he called Deconstructing the Disney Afternoon. And one of the shows he started out with, in fact, the very first show he started out with was Bonkers. And I think I had to send him a little bit of information afterwards to kind of give him an idea of there's more to Bonkers than you originally thought. But of course, it got me thinking. What happened? Now, we know that we got 42 episodes of Lucky and Bonkers, and we got 4 compilation episodes that gathered together the original raw tunage cartoon shorts of the Here's Bonkers segments, along with some original animation. And then afterwards, we ended up getting 19 Miranda and Bonkers related episodes. So when you take the 42 and then you take the 4, you got 46 there, and then you take the 19, you got about 65 altogether. But one has to wonder though, what happened? What was originally planned? Had Bonkers gone in the direction that Disney initially wanted it to go in? What would have happened? We do know that when the original concept was brought to the table, the scripts were made, probably recorded, and then sent off to be animated. We know that when they came back, a majority of them, which I'm assuming was 42 of them, because obviously 4 episodes of Bonkers were originally intended to be compilation episodes of the raw tunage shorts with new animation, or just the episodes themselves, or just the cartoon shorts from raw tunage themselves. But one has to wonder exactly what happened, because like I said, we do know that at least 42 of them came off disastrous, because like I said, obviously they had 4 episode slots open for compilation episodes of all the raw tunage shorts of He's Bonkers, either along with original animation or not. But when you get down to it, I'm sure a lot of people wonder exactly what happened, or exactly what was originally planned. What was the original directive for the show? Now, in some of the Miranda episodes, I think we kind of got an idea of what we were going to get. We were probably going to get a standard 65 episode series, well, at least 61 episode series if you minus the compilation episodes. We were going to get an established 61 series with Bonkers and Miranda going up against a rogues gallery of villains, or villains of criminals. We were going to get that. We were going to get a rogues gallery of villains and criminals that they were going to go up against. And we pretty much saw who those villains were going to be, those antagonists, those criminals were going to be in the 19 episodes that had survived. We saw that we were going to get antagonists and villains like Lilith the Brave, Al Vermin, Flaps. The list goes on. Some original one-time, maybe some one-time off villains. Wildman Wyatt. Again, again, maybe some other villains as well we were going to get. And we were also hinted at the fact that we probably would have gotten more episodes based maybe on some conflict. Not saying that's much when it came to Bonkers, but I think we were going to get more conflict in a sense. Let's take a look at the episodes, because one episode that I think gave us that idea, kind of hinted at the fact that we were going to get something like that, was Quibbling Rivalry, when Miranda's sister, who's a famous reporter, comes to visit. So we got sort of an idea maybe what kind of conflicting episodes we might get there. Another episode that we got was the 29th. Well, was it the 29th page? No, it wasn't the 29th page. It basically had to do something. It was an episode dealing with Lilith the Brave, and it was called "You Read What." I think it was something like called "You Read What You Get" or something like that. And this episode hinted possibly at other ideas, because one thing shows do in episodes, whether they're animated or live action, and I know I use that example a lot. One thing that shows do with episodes is they will use these episodes to throw in little Easter eggs, little hints, if you will, of what's maybe to come in the future, or what will come in a later episode, maybe in a future show. We kind of get that idea. And this is no different when it came to Bonkers. And I think the episode where they're dealing with this tabloid paper that Lilith the Brave has created, we get a hint that maybe there's going to be a Christmas episode. Ironic, since this is Christmas season coming up, there was an indication we might get a Christmas episode. Why, you may ask? Because in one of the final scenes, in the climax of that episode, a lot of these false advertisements start popping up and coming to life. Like there's this one advertisement that pops up, falsely advertising a fake hair solution, that when you use it, anything can come and grow out of your hair. And one of the things that grew out of his hair was a Christmas tree along with a train going around it. So to me, when I think about it, that kind of subtly hint at the fact that perhaps there was a Christmas episode originally pinned in, and possibly nearly animated, or if not completely animated, that was going to be part of the Miranda Bonkers run, but ended up being one of the episodes that ended up coming off disastrous, animation-wise. So when I see something like that, I kind of get this idea this notion that perhaps there was more planned with Miranda. There was perhaps more planned with Bonkers and Miranda. We pretty much see that, because we see more involvement throughout some of the episodes with Jitters taking part in this. We see some of the episodes dealing with Grumbles getting involved just briefly, or twice, or whatever. We see Fondier in the episode Cast of Bonkers, at the beginning and at the end. And we even see her make cameos throughout. I think even in the episode where Bonkers is telling an old Western story to Miranda's nephew. So we get all these ideas. We get all these moments and hints and all this happening in just these 19 episodes. And it makes you wonder, was there more planned? Was there more? And obviously I think there was. I mean, just from the offset that, with a character like Lilith the Brave, I see something. I see something that might have been planned where it either would have been multi-part or just a one-shot deal. But I see and again, it's my opinion. The only people that know the truth to this are Disney themselves, are the creators behind the Bonkers show. You know, like Dwayne Capizza and all them. But when I look at a character like Lilith the Brave and Al Vermin, I see either in a multi-part or one-shot episode deal, these characters coming together with other criminals, antagonists, like let's say Wildman Wyatt and a few others, to try to team up against Bonkers, to try to team up to get back at Bonkers and Miranda for setting them up and putting them in jail or foiling their plans. I could see that, and maybe that was planned. Maybe that was one of the episodes that was originally planned, but like I said, with the potential Christmas episode, when it got sent overseas to be animated, and it was sent back, it came back disastrous. So I'm guessing, again, my opinion, I'm guessing that there was a shot at a possible one shot or maybe two-part episode, very similar to Justice Ducks. Because you remember in Justice Ducks, which is a Darkwing Duck episode, they had all the criminals, Bushwood, Megavolt, Liquidator, you know, they had them team up with Darkwing, they had them team up with Negaduck. Oh, Quackerjack as well. So you had Quackerjack, Bushroot, Liquidator, Megavolt team up with Negaduck to get Darkwing Duck out of the picture because he's foiled all the plans. So what I look at, in my opinion, is a possible scenario that could have been similar to that. Again, I'm just going off speculation and an assumption, but just from what I've seen from these 19 episodes and what was originally planned out, I think we would have gotten an episode either with a one-shot or two-part deal that was very similar to what we got in Darkwing Duck. And what I mean by very similar is Darkwing ended up gathering together, or at least was suggested to come together with certain other protagonists that he had encountered in the past, like, of course, his love interest Morgana. Let's see, who was the other character? You had Morgana, you had Gizmo Duck, you had Stegfoot or Stegmaier, whatever his name was. You had Neptunia, I think that was the name of the fish girl. So you had Gizmo Duck, you had Neptunia, you had Morgana, you had Stegfoot, I think was his name, along with Darkwing to counter Negaduck and basically his fearsome five. So again, this is just pure speculation and an assumption of what I think we could have probably gotten, because you could just see it. Because to me, honestly, you could just see hints, if not Easter eggs, of what could have been. Like, I just get this feeling that something like this was planned out. And to me, you could have had an episode similar to what you had with the Darkwing Duck episode, Justice Ducks, and alongside Bonkers, you would have had Miranda, of course. You would have had Jitters, of course. You would have had, well, maybe not Jitters. Maybe not Jitters. But I can definitely tell you this. If we would have gotten, and again, this is just off speculation and assumption of what I believe was in the works before everything went, belly up, if you will, as far as these 42 episodes of these original 42 episodes with Miranda went. I believe that we would have gotten an episode to where, very similar, and I know I'm sounding repetitive saying that, and I do apologize, but we would have gotten an episode that was very similar in tone, where you would have had the antagonist on one side that Bonkers and Miranda had put away, and on the other side you would have had Bonkers, Miranda, and a couple of the friends. Like, I could see Grading putting his differences aside, because Wild Man Wild's on the other end. I could see Grumbles joining in on the fight. So that's 3. I can definitely see Fondier being part of this. That's 4. And yeah, I could probably see Jitters as well. And why do I believe this could have been an episode? And why do I believe, if not speculate and assume that this was an episode in the works? This could have been an episode that was going to happen, but like I say, due to unfortunate behind the scenes circumstances, it didn't. Because of just the hints that we got, just the hints that we got throughout the 19 Miranda episodes. I mean, you had Bonkers and Miranda and Grading at times teaming up together. Like one episode, they had to deal with getting a ghost, which is a homage to the ghost from that classic Mickey Donald and Goofy cartoon called Dopey. They had to get the Dopey ghost out of the police station, so they had to team up. So you had these situations. Again, you go back to another episode, Stork Exchange, I believe, and you had Jitters teaming up with Bonkers there to help him out. So you had all these different classic scenarios. And then, of course, like I said, you would have the cameo and inclusion of times with Fondier. You would have Grumbles pop in every now and then. So you had the potential there. And then again, along with this rogues gallery, as Chris Moore put it, Rowdy C put it, of Lilith the Brave, Flaps, Al Vermin, Mr. Black and Bloom, the list goes on, Wild Man Wyatt. It was just there. It was just there. And I think they could have really, and I think that was one of the initial plans, episodic. I think that was one of the initial episodic ideas, story ideas for an episode that would have came to life if it wasn't for what happened behind the scenes, animation-wise. So again, I can't say that that's true and that's a fact. It's only speculation. The only people, an assumption I should say, the only people that could tell us if that's true or not, or at least if something like that was planned out, is Dwayne Capizza and Greg Weismer. Greg Weismer, who did Gargoyles, and said that his inspiration for Goliath and Elisa came from the relationship that Bonkers had with Miranda. So, there you go. As a matter of fact, when I look at shows like Gargoyles and all that, I see potentially ideas, story ideas, and concepts that became reality that I think, honestly, Greg Weismer, along with Dwayne Capizza, had planned out for shows like Bonkers. Like, this is one episode where where Elisa, thanks to a magic spell cast on by Demona, gets turned into a gargoyle, if you will. And in exchange, Goliath, later on in the episode, gets turned into a human, along with the other members of the clan. So, Elisa gets turned into a gargoyle. Here's why I think this was an idea that it worked for Gargoyles. It really did. It helped establish further the relationship between Elisa and Goliath. But here's why I believe this might have been an idea Greg Weismer wanted to put into Bonkers. Because if he's crediting Bonkers' relationship with Miranda as inspiration for Goliath and Elisa's relationship, then there's no doubt in my mind, I think he had an episode, I think there's no doubt in my mind, he probably had an episode written out, finalized, maybe even recorded, to where Miranda may have been turned into a tune for a day. I mean, we kind of got that in a sense with the episode where Grading, after he's hit on the head, kind of gets the notion that he's Bucky Buzzsaw, which is a tune actor in the series at that time. But what I'm talking about is we see what happens to Elisa in the episode, in that Gargoyles episode. I'm guessing, again, speculation, that Greg Weismer originally also planned to have that done in Bonkers. Like, he was originally going to probably put that idea into Bonkers, and of course you add in the whole situation with Ludwig von Drake and his inventions and stuff like that, and his formulas and everything. And I'm thinking we would have had an episode where Miranda would have turned into a human Toon, or at least a female Toon Bobcat. That's just speculation. But the reason I say that is because it would have worked. Not the fact that it would have worked, but it would have been intriguing to see, because we know how Bonkers is with Fawn Deer, but we also know that throughout the series he also can get a crush on different other females, like even human females. We saw that in Love Exchange or something like that. It's called Love Exchange or something. I can't think of the episode right now. But basically, him and Miranda are sent on a mission to safeguard contestants on a love connection, some kind of a love connection inspired show. So, anyway, long story short, we know Bonkers can get attracted to other females besides Fawn. We've even seen that in Cast of Bonkers with Katja Legs Guanalots. But the reason I think Greg had this idea in mind, not just for Gargoyles, in which it became a great episode, you got to see that one. But the reason I believe, because he worked on Bonkers, especially with the Miranda Bonkers run, the reason I think he may have had it also planned for Bonkers is because I think he saw the potential of how good it could be, and even how funny it could be. I mean, he probably looked at all the ideas and all the wacky, toony zangness that Miranda could get into as a female Toon Bobcat. I mean, heck, could you imagine her accidentally kissing Bonkers on the lips during this episode, and all of a sudden she just melts into a puddle? Or she takes off like a rocket? Or whatever? I mean, I think Greg Weismer and even Dwayne Capizza saw the potential that was there for an episode like that. But unfortunately, again, because of what happened animation-wise behind the scenes, it never came to fruition for Bonkers, for the Bonkers Miranda episodes, or Bonkers Miranda Run that was initially planned, and instead got thrown over to Gargoyles, I should say. It got thrown over to Gargoyles and turned out to be a great episode there. So, again, it's just speculation, but I think what he had done with that episode in Gargoyles, easy for me to say a lot, but what he had done there with that episode in Gargoyles, I think he also originally had a penned out for Bonkers, for the Bonkers Miranda run. I really do. And another thing that gets me wondering if there was more originally planned for the Bonkers Miranda run, like what could have been had they achieved that goal and nothing happened behind the scenes, is I think, in a sense, and some people have already done this in fan fiction. Heck, check out Bonkers 1999. I think it's around chapter 7. Check that out. You'll kind of get an idea of what I'm about to talk about. But I think initially they were going to do an episode. It may have been maybe for the series, maybe for the finale. Maybe it would have been multi-part. I don't know. Again, it's speculation. But my thought process, but when I look at on how they did these episodes, and how, like I said earlier, things were hinted at, these little Easter eggs and stuff were thrown at us, I'm just curious if maybe the creative staff, Greg Weismer and Dwayne Capizza, I wonder if they were planning to bring Bonkers' friends like Fawn and Jitters and Grumbles. I wonder if they were planning to bring them onto the force as well. Think about that. You have these characters that have become associated more with the Miranda run than they were with the Lucky run. you have to wonder whether or not they were originally pinned in, maybe for the finale of the series, to become cops themselves. I mean, think about it. Comes full circle, if you will. Bonkers becomes a cop. His friends are out doing their own thing, and then maybe the time comes to where, hey, they're going to become cops as well, or the moment presents itself, but nobody, not even Miranda, with the exception of Bonkers, thinks they can do it, and they exceed expectations. They prove their worth, and they become cops. Maybe that's how the series ends. Maybe that's what they had planned. Again, I can't say that whether they did or not. I can't say whether they did or not, because I know when, again, going back to Gargoyles, and it's spin off the Goliath Chronicles, whether Greg Weismer was attached to that or not, and I think he was for a couple of episodes, and I think even for the last episode he was attached to, called Angels in the Night. Angels in the Night ended on a terrific note. It really did. So it has to make you wonder if they had a finale planned, and I believe they did. I mean, even though it would run for, with the exception of the compilation episodes, even though it would run for about 61 episodes, you gotta wonder if the 64th episode would have been a finale, either a one-shot finale or a multi-part finale. And again, just by looking at some of the episodes, looking back at some of the Miranda episodes and some of the Easter eggs and hints that we got in there, I have to believe he had something like this planned. I really do. Again, it's just speculation. Like I said, Greg Weismer and Dwayne Capizza and the rest of the creative staff, they're the only ones that might know the truth. But I think initially they did have something like this planned. Why, you may ask? Real simple. Real simple. Depending on how they would have began the series originally, this would have been a great coming full circle finale. Because here's what I think happens. When they did the reshoot, when they did the restart for Bonkers, and they did the origin story of how he became a cop, and this was the beginning of the Lucky Piquel run. I think, honestly, they may have had the same concept planned out for the Miranda episodes. I really do. I think they had something planned out for the Miranda episodes that were going to be very similar in pilot to what we had with the Lucky episodes, and we would have gone from there. I think initially and honestly, some of the ideas and stories and even main antagonists in the pilot episode of Bonkers that introduced us to Lucky Piquel, I think in a sense a lot of that was originally meant for the Miranda run. Like, basically, I think, what was his name, Larry Lantham or something? I think he basically got the idea, he saw the potential of what Greg Weismer and Dwayne Capizza and everybody else working on the Miranda and Bonkers run had planned and pinned out for the pilot, and he probably got the blessing to rework it in a style he felt would be more appropriate, or he felt would be more believable, and thus we ended up getting the Going Bonkers 45-minute pilot, if not the Going Bonkers Part 1, Going Bonkers Part 2 pilot. I believe, honestly, and again, assumption, I believe in my speculation and assumption that was originally intended for Miranda. And then that would have, in a sense, continuity-wise, would have probably helped come full circle in the finale. Again, just speculation. Because here you would have Bonkers and his friends being fired from Wacky Studios. You would have had him fired, and then you would have had them all. Then you would have had it all come full circle with Jitters, Fawn, and Grumbles joining Bonkers as part of the police force. I'm just saying, it makes sense, and I think originally that was probably the idea. Again, it's an assumption. I'm assuming and speculating that that was the original plan had things gone correctly with the initial Miranda Bonkers run that was originally pinned out and planned out. Again, it's just speculation, but I think it just makes too obvious sense. I mean, heck, you want a good example of why I think that was the initial plan. Here's why. In Tokyo Bonkers, well, Bonkers is guarding Z-Bot and kind of having a conversation with him. He mentions on how he was replaced by Byfast Bill. And you're thinking, well, Byfast Bill made his appearance cameo-wise in the Going Bonkers pilot as what was replacing Bonkers and his friends. So it makes you wonder when you think about it. Makes you wonder if perhaps everything we got in the pilot episode was originally meant to be part of the Miranda Run. Think about that. They might have changed things up changed some characteristics, story elements, and all that. They might have changed parts of the story around in the pilot, to make it better suit what they were going for now at that time. But one has to wonder if maybe it was originally meant for the Miranda Run, just by the fact that Bonkers mentions Byfast Bill in Tokyo Bonkers. Think about that. Think about that for a second, folks. Think about that for one moment. Because it makes sense, in my opinion. It really does make some sense, continuity-wise. And again, if that's the case, then if they had maybe an idea to go through it, and again, if that's the case, and they did plan to probably have some kind of continuity flow go with it, you have to assume and speculate that maybe they had a finale to where Bonkers friends would join him as part of the police force. You have to wonder. You have to speculate and wonder if maybe that was the case. Just saying. Yeah, there's just so many, what ifs out there, what could have beens out there had they gone with the initial run of Miranda and Bonkers instead of changing it up and doing 42 episodes of Lucky and Bonkers and then using the 19 Miranda episodes that had been preserved or been rescued. It has to make you wonder that. It really does. I talk about the fact that in that one episode where it's called something like, in that one episode about the fake news and false tabloids and all that, and I mentioned how that one part in the climax, you kind of get like an Easter egg or a hint at Christmas, right? You have to wonder what that Christmas episode would have been like. You really do. Because just the way that they animated the tree, just for that brief moment on the guy's head, it has to make you wonder if they had, what kind of Christmas episode it would have been. I mean, we did get a Christmas episode in the Lucky Piquel run with Miracle in the 34th Precinct, but it has to make you wonder. It has to make you wonder of what kind of Christmas episode or special episode we would have gotten with Bonkers. And I think honestly we would have gotten something very similar to what we got with Goof Troop. Here's what I mean. Later on, okay, here's what I'm talking about. Ever since 1992, the Goof Troop Christmas episode, Have Yourself a Goofy Little Christmas, always aired on its own merit. It aired in prime time. It aired on its own. It never was ever shown in the actual run of the series until later on. When it came on to Toon Disney onto Disney Channel and then later on Toon Disney, it still wasn't part of the regular run. I do remember that during one of the last initial runs of Goof Troop on Toon Disney before it became Disney XD, that Have Yourself a Goofy Little Christmas did become part of the regular run of Goof Troop. But before then, for a majority of its time, was always its own thing. It was always on its own. It was its own special. And like I said, there was several times during its run in syndication that it would be aired as a primetime special. That was it. Heck, even when it, like I said, going back to Toon Disney and even Disney Channel, when they would do the little Christmas blocks and all that, Goof Troop Christmas was always aired on its own. You never saw that with the Darkwing Duck episode, It's a Wonderful Leaf. You never saw that with Jolly Molly Christmas, which was a Tailspin one. You never saw that with Miracle on the 34th Precinct. You never saw that with any of those. Okay, you never saw it with any of those. The only ones I think you initially saw that with were Goof Troop, with Goof Troop Christmas, Have Yourself a Goofy Little Christmas, and then later on in 1998 with 101 Dalmatians, A Christmas Cruella. That's the only time you ever saw those episodes. The only time. I mean, okay, what I'm saying is that was the only time any episodes aired outside of the regular syndicated or Toon Disney over-the-air run. They never aired, as far as I know, until I think towards the end of the Toon Disney, before it became Disney XD. They never ran as part of the regular lineup. They were always separate. They always were. So it makes you wonder if perhaps one of the initial ideas when the original run for Bonkers, what I'm saying is it makes you wonder if maybe one of the initial ideas, one of the original initial ideas for the Bonkers Miranda run, when it was originally pitched and ready to go, before all the changes, it has to make you wonder if maybe Bonkers was going to get the next primetime Christmas slot for a Disney Afternoon series, and it was going to run maybe back to back with Goof Troop. It makes you wonder that, because like I said, the one thing about the Miranda Bonkers run, one thing about it is, like I said, you got those little hints, you got those little Easter eggs that were thrown at you. You had all these little moments thrown at you that you would have to really look at and notice as being maybe hints of what was to come or what may be, so on. Kind of like what they do now with movies and shows. They always give you Easter eggs to notice in the background or in the forefront. So it makes you wonder, with that one moment in that episode, in that episode about the false news and tabloids, if perhaps when the guy put that stuff on his hair and it showed you the Christmas stuff pop up and how nicely animated that was, even for a brief moment, it has to make you wonder if perhaps that was going to be the kind of animation they would have given us, along with what we were already getting in a Bonkers Christmas special. And it has to. And here's the thing: it makes you wonder, it makes you speculate if maybe, if maybe we were going to get a primetime Bonkers Christmas special back then, especially if they would have gone with the Miranda Bonkers run. But here's the thing: what kind of Christmas story would we gotten? What kind of Christmas story arc would we have gotten with Bonkers? It makes you wonder, right? And the thing is, I think the obvious one I think they were going to probably go with, because they did this later on with the 101 Dalmatians, A Christmas Cruella. I think honestly, and this is the truth, I think honestly, in my assumption and speculation, I think if they would have gone with the Bonkers, if they had gone the original route they had planned with the Bonkers and Miranda Wright run, I think the Christmas episode we would have gotten would have been a Christmas Carol related one. Yeah, I really do. I think honestly we would have gotten a Christmas Carol related episode. Here's why. You had the perfect Scrooge, or the perfect character to portray the Scrooge role in grading. You had the perfect Bob Cratchit in Bonkers, if you will. Well, maybe not Bonkers, but maybe like one of the side characters like Dennis or KO. And you had the perfect cast to play the ghost. And when I talk about cast, I'm talking about the fact that obviously you could have had... Who would have done the Jacob Marley one? I would guess Miranda would be Jacob Marley, or be in the role of Jacob Marley or something like that. Could have worked. In a role similar. I don't know. I could see Fondier as the ghost of Christmas as the ghost of Christmas past. I could see that. I could see Bonkers as the ghost of Christmas present. And I could see Grumbles, I would assume, as the ghost of Christmas future. I could see those roles being filled in with those guys' eyes easily. I really could. Now you might say, well, where would Jitters come in? Wouldn't he be part of this? Yeah, Jitters could be part of it. But I would assume the role he would play... Well, you know what, now that I think about it, I think Jitters could have played... Here's what I think, honestly, now that I think about it. Not only do I speculate, not only do I assume and speculate at the fact that we would have had a Christmas Carol-like episode with the Miranda Bonkers run had they continued going in that direction. But again, like I said, grading would have been the perfect Scrooge. I think in the role of a Bob Cratchit, you could have had Bonkers, maybe Miranda, but I would assume more along the lines of Bonkers. That's what not Bonkers. I would assume something like I said, one of the side characters, Dennis or KO. So I can assume one of them. I would assume Jitters would come in and be asked to portray the ghost of Jacob Marley, or some kind of ghost similar to that. I could see, like I said, Fondier being asked to portray herself in the role of the ghost of Christmas past, or a role similar to the ghost of Christmas past. I could see Bonkers doing the ghost of Christmas present, and I could see Miranda doing the ghost of Christmas future. I really could. And again, this is all assumption and speculation of what kind of Christmas episode we would have gotten, and if that Christmas episode, a special episode, would have been given the same treatment the Goof Troop one was given by being put into prime time and shown only once a year. Again, like I said, it's just speculation and assumption, but one has to wonder. One has to really, really, really wonder what could have been, what would have been, what possibilities we could have had. And like I said, you take a look at the 19 episodes that had survived, that were aired, and it makes you wonder, just by the little Easter eggs and hints that were thrown in there, of what we could have got. It really does. Because I have nothing against the Lucky Pickell episodes. I don't. There's tons of good ones. There really are. Don't get me wrong. There really are tons of good ones. Yes, they are a lot darker in tone. There's no doubt about that. But what I'm saying is, But what I'm saying is, you take a look at the 19 episodes that we were given, and all the things that I've talked about and everybody else has talked about the series, from Rowdy C to Nostalgia Critic to many others, about what happened behind the scenes, and it makes you wonder what was originally planned, what episodes were originally created, what episodes were originally planned to be released along with those 19 others. You know, it makes you wonder, it makes you speculate and assume what could have been. So, I guess, like I've said throughout this, the only people that could really, really answer those questions are Greg Weismer, Train Capizza, and anybody else that's worked on the series. They're the only ones that could probably answer those questions. Heck, you know who could probably also answer them? I just thought of her name right now. Was it Carly DeVito or something? The woman that voiced Miranda. She's probably the only other one that could probably tell us what originally was planned, if anything. Because, again, the whole series initially was centered around Bonkers and Miranda. It makes you wonder. It makes you wonder what Disney originally had planned, what the creative staff behind the series originally had planned for the Bonkers Miranda Wright run, had they gone in that direction originally as intended. So that's all I'm going to say on it, though. Let me know what you guys think down below. Sorry this went for about almost 47 minutes. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. I'd like to hear what you have to say, and I will talk to you all later. So God bless. Take care. I am out.